Hello everyone, welcome back to Road to Sub 2 Episode 4. If you're new here, this is a series where I log my progress towards an official Sub 2 Skewb average and go into detail on algorithms, techniques, and methods that I learn. In this episode I will be focusing on my progress with one-looking, NS, recent competition results, and looking forward to Worlds. But before we get into all that, I want to explain that seeing as there is a big gap between Episode 3 and Episode 4, and even there's a big gap in between some of my just regular videos like vlogs and memes and goals, so I did have a 2-month break of just not cubing and really focusing on school, and so if my progress seems a little bit slow, that might be why. But anyway, let's start out with my NS progress. In Episode 2, I learned all the NS cases that require 4 or 5 sledges in Sarah's Advanced. Then I moved on to focusing on one-looking and my results at Mid-Atlantic Champs and North American Champs last year. But thanks to a recommendation from Bosek Groman, I decided to really focus on learning full NS as well, because there are still a lot of cases, 3 sledge cases, that can be much faster with the NS algorithm. And so I've been balancing my learning for NS and one-looking side by side. So let's take a look at some of the cases that I've learned since last episode. Alright, so here are all the cases I've learned so far. Starting with Pi+Wat Perm, there were 4 cases for me to learn. On the Skewb Resources doc, they're listed as 4A, 4B, 4C, 4D, but it's really just different combinations of this. So yeah, for this case, my algorithm is just so it's pretty standard, I think. I mean, it's 12 moves, so it's nothing super crazy, but I find it flows a lot better than the Sarah's Advanced. Yep. So next up is this one, which I hold right here and do this. A bit slower, it's pretty nice. These are both just really fluid algorithms, and even though the Sarah's Advanced is still very much usable for these cases, I just find a lot more comfort in doing these. I don't know, it's less rotations. Yeah, so for this one, it's just the inverse of the first one that I showed, so it's like that. My execution on this Skewb sucks, but you can see how that would flow without any pauses. Lastly, we have this case, which I, for some reason, have a lot of trouble with when recognizing and remembering what algorithm it is. I'm not sure why, but maybe it's because the algorithm is so different than the other ones. The algorithm is actually basically this case, which is strange, but it's just a couple extra moves at the end. So yeah, what it looks like is it's super nice to execute. It's just, I don't know exactly why I have trouble recognizing it, but I do. Next up, we have the Pi+X Perm cases, which there are 4 of. They're all just a different positioning of these, which is of course just Pi+X Perm, but the U center is always on the actual sledge hedge part. So let's start out with this one. So this one is pretty nice to actually execute, and it's just holding it from here, sledge, and then inserting that back. So it's actually really simple. Yeah, just a little bit faster. It really flows very nice, and I quite like it. This is the other one that I quite like. The algorithm is actually surprisingly similar. It's just like the order of moves has been swapped around, kind of. And of course the rotations are different, but here's what it looks like. So once again, just a little bit faster. Yeah, it's another one that flows pretty well. These two are ones that I really should change my algorithm for. I just haven't quite had the time to. So starting out with this one, which is a little bit nicer than this one, but the algorithm I learned for this one basically goes like this. So it's, I mean, there's a regrip. It's pretty dependent on like these two fingers, which are not commonly used in algorithms like that. Yeah, so once again, just a little bit faster. You can tell where the regrip is, and it's, I don't know, it's not super comfortable. I need to change it, but yeah, I still think it's slightly better than doing the hedge to U Perm, but I don't know, to each their own. Last step, this is the one I need to change the most because it's just super uncomfortable. It's not a whole lot of moves, but yeah, it's just, it doesn't flow well at all. So basically it goes like this. And then here I just do that move, like that. Once again, just a little bit faster. But you can tell like the regrip and rotation, I don't know, it takes time, it doesn't flow well. So yeah, it's really, this set of algorithms is really divided between two that are really comfortable and two that don't flow well. Next up, we have Pi+Z Perm Conjugates. So it's all these ones. So let's just start out plain and simple with this one. This is the first one I learned, and I think it's probably the fastest one. So here's what it is. That's it. It's really simple. So a little bit faster now. Yeah, I mean, you can't even see it. I mean, it's such a nice algorithm. Let's also do this one next, which is helped from the same angle with the solved right here, and it's just the inverse of the algorithm that I just showed you. So it's just a little bit faster. Yeah, it's also pretty nice. There is slight room for error on that one, I feel like, but that may just come down to my consistency. Alright, so next up, we have this one, which I think I had a choice of algorithms, and I don't know if this is the most common one that people do, but this is the 8-mover, so oh well. But yeah, it's... Apologies, this Skewb is really springy. Now a little bit faster. And if there is any algorithm that I need to change, it's this one, because I literally just do the inverse of the one that I just showed you, which is a little bit uncomfortable. I mean, it's still 8 moves, so it doesn't take too long to execute, and it's still faster than that. But not by much, and I mean, I really should change the algorithm to something better. But it can still be done timely. So yeah, those are all like the sets of algorithms that I've learned, but there are one or two that I've picked up along the way and some adjustments I've made, so let's look at those. Alright, so this is one case where I have changed my algorithm. Originally it was this, which is pretty uncomfortable, pretty awkward, because it feels like you're moving backwards. There's a hedge in the middle and so on. So shout out to Azrael on the Skewb Discord for helping me swap to this alg. So just slower. It might be more moves, but it flows just so much better and it's so much faster. So a little bit faster. Boom. I also decided to change my execution for triple sledge quite a bit. I mean, forever I was just doing that, of course. But then somebody recommended that I switch to this, which is regripless. But my argument against this is that it's not entirely regripless, because if you get a triple sledge, you're going to be holding it from here. So you have to regrip to here anyway to start the algorithm. That's still a regrip. And I mean, yeah, it's one less than doing triple sledge 3 times, but what I found is best for me is to do so a little bit faster. Yeah, I mean, timing it is faster than this, and it also seems to be faster than this. That's just what I've come to, what I'm most comfortable with, because just the regrip up top to this is not super comfortable. I mean, I still use it for double sledge, so maybe one day I'll switch to that. But at the moment, it's definitely this for me. Also, one last thing, I've decided only like a week out from Worlds to scrap these NS Z Perm conjugate algs. For these nice triple sledge alg conjugates. And that has, of course, as you can tell, gone along with my change to triple sledge execution. So we'll see how it goes at Worlds. The delay is larger than what it was before in terms of remembering what algorithm I'm switching to, but it is about the same time as it takes to rotate to the NS ones anyway, so it's still not too slow. And there are a lot of cases left for me to learn. However, there are a handful of cases where I'm questioning whether the NS would really be faster than my Ceres Advanced just because of how comfortable with Ceres Advanced I am and how awkward I find some NS algorithms to execute. But I'll spend time drilling both the Ceres Advanced and the NS for those cases and update you guys. Next episode, it's just that I feel that there are some where the Ceres Advanced maybe it only has like one regrip, like a Sledge into a Peanut X that cancels, and it's hard to explain without showing, but I will show in the next episode. But yeah, it might not be optimal for you, but it could be for me. I mean, we're all different people and we all have different preferences, so just experiment with what is best for you. Now that we've discussed NS, let's move on to my progress with one-looking. So since I've started one-looking, I've had a hard time figuring out how to practice it exactly. I tried timing my inspection time and then checking my accuracy afterwards. I also developed a bad habit of avoiding scrambles that had layers that I just found very difficult to trace. Thankfully, I reached out to Dominic Radici, who I had a wonderful time meeting at North American Champs last year. His advice was to one look with unlimited time that you give yourself and really focus on execution actually, because the inspection time will naturally come down over time, whereas execution is something that needs a little bit more focus to improve. Since then, I have been feeling much better about one looking across the board. This also has the added benefit of making me more comfortable with the NS cases that I've been learning along the way, because not only am I focusing on execution, but after the solve, if it's an NS that's new to me, I often downsolve it. The catch is that I've been mostly tracing layers rather than memorizing patterns for 3-move layers or 4-move layers like I should be. I did feel like, since it was, the end of the spring semester, when I was trying to implement these techniques, it was just really hard to have time to, considering exams and just an overall heightened busyness in the college semester. But now that it's summer, I am hoping to have a lot more time. So I still intend on memorizing patterns. That way it can be like I get a scramble that is maybe a 5-move layer, but it's 2 moves to a 3-move layer that I've memorized, and then I can trace to the one-look pattern, and it's just a lot easier. At the end of the day, I don't really know how to prioritize one-looking and NS in terms of my practicing techniques with the limited time that I have, because even over the summer I do still have a job, but it is more free time than I had while in school, I will admit. Since Mid-Atlantic Championships, which I already covered in my recap of that entire competition, rather than just an episode of Road to Sub 2, I have competed in 4 rounds of Skewb, all which have been recent. First, let's cover the 2 promising rounds of Skewb at the UVA competition that I went to recently. Okay, so in round 1 of Virginia Always Open Spring 2025, I got a 294 average. It started out really slow, bad nerves in the morning, and so on, still waking up for the competition and everything. But yeah, I started out with a 304 on this scramble. Come on. Come on. The only thing I could really think to do was blue, and my execution was like this. And I'm not sure why, but my brain defaulted to just doing Sarah's advanced here. Maybe at the time I just wasn't super comfortable with this algorithm. I can't quite remember, but I should have done this. I didn't, and I did Sledge, which I hadn't been doing for a while, so it really wasn't as fast as it should have been, and I ended up with a 304. Come on. Okay, so looking around on the second scramble, it really doesn't have anything in terms of a layer that sticks out. Of course, it's a no-bar scramble, but I just eventually said, okay, I'll just do something on green, and there were, I guess, a couple options. I can confidently say I didn't do the best one because there is just a 4-move solution here that I didn't do. This is what I ended up doing. And then I just did the Sarah's Advance for that. So yeah, ended up being a 322. It was just a bad luck scramble. I mean, the layer just ruined it all. Come on.
That is explainable.
Wait,
I know how it goes like this.
you can't recreate it.
Bro, what?
I think that was...
Alright, so it doesn't really matter, but on the third scramble, this was it. And what I did was orange. I mean, there is a way to do, blue here. And it gives this, which is quite nice. It's hard for me to just ignore a 3-move layer, so I actually one-looped this. But then I locked up so much on the execution of this scramble, and it ended up being on the border of a +2, and then of course you can see what happened from there. So I ended up getting E1, which is this scramble.
I'm ready.
8 seconds.
Okay.
I ended up doing white here because it's 3 moves. I didn't one-look it, but I just ended up doing it. Getting this, which I ended up executing pretty poorly for a 333. I mean, everything from the previous situation with the +2 and all had just completely thrown me off. Okay, so this is scramble 4. You can see there's this, but you can't really do much with it. And there's a fair bit going on, but I ended up doing yellow here. So it's just this to that, and then you get this, which I executed fairly decently for a 257.
I'm ready.
And lastly, of course, this was a banger. I didn't go all out on it. I wanted to safety for BPA, just so I could, continue my sub-3 average streak. But of course, it's literally just one move to this, which is a pretty nice NS. And of course, I wasn't going to figure out how to cancel in the moment, so I just ended up doing this. So I guess a little bit faster would have been like that. But yeah, I ended up with a 184, which I'm pretty happy with getting BPA on. Of course, that was kind of a scramble thing, so I wouldn't say that round necessarily went right, but it still was a 294 average, so 3 threes in a row, still getting a sub-3 average, I think is pretty impressive. And yeah, next round went a lot better.
Money.
Okay, so this is first scramble of finals. As you can tell, there's really only one option to do here, and I have a way that I like to do this layer, and it ended up working out very nice in my favor. So just do it like this, and it's perfectly for U Perm. It did take me a little bit too long to recognize, and I ended up with a 203, but I think if the layer was like one move less, it would have been sub 2, so very nice way to start out the average.
Come on in.
Alright, so this is the second scramble. There's quite a few options, but the only thing that really stuck out to me in terms of being nice to execute is white here, because it's just a 4-mover. So you just do this. Perfectly in position for this, which I executed pretty okay, and I ended up with a 237. So was rocking and rolling in the first 2 solves.
Come on in.
And so this is the third scramble, but by this point you can kind of tell that, okay, I'm on pace for something really good, like potentially PR. And I think that got to my head a little bit here in this solve, because there's only really one layer that I find nice to execute, and that is yellow here. So you just put this corner up, bring this down, and this first sledge was so slow, but I just executed it like that, and it ended up being a 312, which really wasn't what I wanted on that solve. I wanted something a little bit lower, of course. But yeah, I continued to falter on the fourth solve.
I'm ready.
I looked at the scramble and I really just could not find much other than this 2-move setup to a pattern that I knew for one looking, but I didn't one look it, I guess. There is a little bit of something you can do on red, but I just didn't end up figuring it out. So yeah, I just kind of panicked here and I went for yellow, which is this. And you get this, which, I mean, I executed pretty normally. It's just so move heavy that it ended up being a 3.4. And yeah, that was the worst solve of the average. And by then I pretty much knew that PR was out of reach.
I'm ready.
8 seconds.
There is a couple bars, but the main thing I saw was this nice orange layer. So basically you just fix this and then flip this up like that. And then of course it was just sledge to hedge. So it was pretty nice, and it ended up being a 211, which was counting. So, you know, counting 2-1 and 2-3, 3-1 is just really not great. It ended up being a 253 average, which is my second best official average, but it really felt like I threw something even better away. I did end the competition with a second place, and what I mean by the good in this competition is that I didn't throw it all away when I started getting 3s in my averages, and I still ended up with 2 second averages. It was also my first competition in forever having just sub 3 averages. I mean, I've had a lot of sub 3 averages as of late, but I've always had like one round of the competition be a 3 average, so yeah, it felt pretty nice to walk away with 2 sub 3 averages. Now that we've done that, let's move on to what went wrong at Gobbler Cube Day, which was only 2 weeks after UVA. Okay, so this is Gobbler Round 1, Scramble 1.
Come on.
I ended up doing green here. It's 2 moves to a 1-look pattern that I know. As you can tell by the pause in my solve, I did not 1-look it, but I mean, white looks okay, but in reality, it's a lot of moves.
to something that's not good, so, or it's okay, but, so, it's 2 moves to that, and then it's hedge, sledge, sledge, of course. So yeah, I started out pretty solid TPS-wise with a 257. So this is Scramble 2, and it's got a pretty obvious green solution, which is 3 moves, but there's also this yellow solution, which is 3 moves, and honestly would have been 10 times better if I even looked at it, just because the last layer. Yeah, it's really unfortunate, but I ended up doing the red here, which, I mean, it's the case that I showed you earlier when I was showing my NS cases, but it's just really not comfortable for me, especially at this point. I knew it, and I was doing it in practice, like sessions when I would get it, but it just didn't come together in competition. So I ended that solve with a pretty unfortunate 323. Again, if I just looked at other layers, that could have been like a 2.5. Yeah, so this is solve 3 scramble, and I ended up doing yellow here. I mean, there's great stuff if you know EG2, but I do not. And you can do white as well, but it doesn't change too much. So I ended up doing yellow just because it's simpler on my brain. So 2 moves, well, 3 to bring that up. And then it's this NS, which of course, as you saw, pretty big pause and locky because those cases at the time, I just wasn't fully there with them yet. Now I am, so hopefully if I get these at Worlds, it'll be a lot better than a 4. Come on. Moving on with an already broken average with accounting 3-2. I got this scramble on solve 4, which is just 3 moves for green, and that's the only thing even worth looking at. It's that, and then it's hedge, sledge, sledge, which I executed decently and got a 235 on. Come on, let's go. This is scramble for solve 5, which is 3 moves on green, and that's really about it. I mean, it's the same on white, but to a worse case. So I did green because I like seeing these two, and of course it just makes things easier when you get out of the layer because you already know what's here. I mean, this doesn't change at all. It's like a half formula. I mean, you do the layer, and I mean, the case is literally just right in front of you, so. It's a pretty nice case because it's sledged to the cancel, so it's like that. And that's why I was able to do it so quickly, and I got a 193 off a 3 move layer to some form of 3 sledges, which is always nice to get into feel, so I was pretty happy with it because I got BPA. It ended up being a 272 average because of the counting 3, which actually could have been like a 2.5, so another thrown away PR average potential, and yeah, I just didn't feel super happy with that round. Okay, so this was the first scramble in finals. It felt pretty standard. I mean, we have this nice yellow here, but I mean, it ends up still being 5 moves, and you look around and it's like, I mean, there is this, but it's not too much different, and there's a couple more things like that. I just went with yellow because it's just simple, so it's that layer to this case, which I really should know the NS for by this point because I know it's nice, but I just ended up doing the Sears Advanced, and it ended up working out with the 251. Come on. I'll say it's fine. I'll say it's fine. Okay, so this is Scramble 2, and it's one move on white to something I can one look, so that's what I focused on. And guys, I am so stupid. As I was one looking it, I somehow came to the conclusion that this was going to be a Pi+X Perm. I don't know how, because it's just one move and then you just, these stay the same, which means that it's going to be Peanut+X Perm, which is absolutely lovely. But yeah, I mean, I went into this solve thinking that this was going to be Pi+X Perm, and then I did the layer, and it wasn't, and I just completely, like, completely went out the door. I mean, I threw away a very, very easy sub 2 for a 269, which was pretty upsetting.
I need to go get a pen. Let him grab it.
Okay. Alright, so this is Scramble 3. It's got quite a bit going for it actually, but instead of doing like orange, which could have been pretty obvious to do, I did do red because I can just one look it because I know this pattern, and this time I one looked it correctly. I mean, see that these swap, so this is opposite, and these are the corners, so look at these next, and these swap, and this is solved, so it's Pi triple Sledge, so it's already at the correct angle for the alg, so just do the layer, straight into the alg. It probably could have been sub 2, but my mental was already kind of and I was already pretty tired from all the day. And I want you to keep in mind, I'm on my third solve. Over half the stage has already finished their average by this point. So it really was like a mental game where I was just waiting forever and ever. Come on.
It was a 4-2.
Yeah, so this is solve 4. You can see, I mean, great stuff here. I mean, I just did this and had the worst lockups ever, which is normally like that. I mean, I showed it earlier in the video, but yeah, I mean, maybe I could have done that, which was like bring this down and then twist it the other way, and that would have been a better solution for sure, but I didn't, and it ended up being a 4.2.
I don't think there's...
Okay, this is solve 5, and by this point, everyone was already off the stage. I mean, I was the last one on, and I had been for like a minute. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty tough, but I tried my best to focus, and the best I could come up with was this on yellow, which is 2 moves to a 1-look pattern. By that point, I was just like, okay, well, I don't think I can do this right now. So I just did it like that, and then of course it ended up being, you never want to see Pi swirl, really, in my opinion. Even though the NS is like not terrible, it's just, yeah, I mean, on a solve 5, everything just went down the drain, so yeah, ended up being a 448 for a 315 average, which, yeah, was not good at all. I mean, the last time I had an average that bad was Mid-Atlantic Championships 2024, last year, in semis, with a 327, but then, like, it was semis, so, like, who cares? But then this was the end of a competition, and I wanted to win, but didn't, so. One more thing I wanted to touch on before we talk about Worlds is the competition I went to most recently, actually, which didn't have Skewb, but it did have a trend where I did very poorly on solve 1 or 2 in a lot of my averages, but then still got BPA by the end of the average or close to BPA, and secured like a podium under pressure. It's a promising showing of controlling my nerves in competition, which I think has proven to me that I have made mental progress since Gobbler, and I've rethought a lot of how I compete. I mean, during that competition, I barely did any warm-up before solves, even when sitting at the stations, but it still all went really well, so that's a technique I might consider doing at Worlds. And yeah, overall, just I feel more confident going into Worlds. Speaking of which, my goals for Worlds will be to make finals, plain and simple. It's become a trend since the first nationals I went to have this goal at major competitions, and since it's the world stage, it's never been harder to achieve. Luckily, I have yet to fail that goal,
because every time, except for NAC 2021 or whatever the year was in Toronto, I've had great performances in semifinals. But yeah, the general consensus in the Skewb community, mostly via the Skewb Discord, is that the cutoff for finals is going to be from just sub 3 to like as low as 2.6 with like a really good scramble set. Considering my recent results, I would still put myself on the cusp of that, making it still a realistic goal. Also, this time around I won't feel the pressure of being on stream first round like I had at North American Champs and Nationals, so who knows, maybe I can go for a PR average, but I don't want to jinx anything in semifinals, so there's no way I'm going to explicitly go for that in any other round besides first round, because I think I have a little bit of leeway with how I solve. But of course, Worlds isn't just about results. There are so many people going that I want to meet and cube with, especially from the Skewb community. I met a fair amount of you at North American Champs 2024, but there are also a lot of you that are not from the United States, that are from Poland or South America that are coming up, and it's just going to be very nice to get to talk to everyone and meet everyone. Also, a fair few of you out there have commented on these videos giving me advice or taking my own and showing appreciation, and it just really means a lot to me. So if you spot me at Worlds, please feel free to come up and say hi. With that said, thank you for watching. I hope some of you have learned something new in your own journey to PRs. If not, let me know your own tips and tricks in the comments below. All advice is welcome. And yeah, I'll see y'all soon.